Leigh Wood versus Josh Warrington for Leigh Wood's WBA featherweight title. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Let's get into it. Let's start with the champ, Leigh Wood. 27 wins, 3 losses, 16 wins by way of knockout. There is a saying that I'm sure you've heard that goes like this: revenge is a dish best served cold. Personally, I don't know who even said that. Don't even know where it came from. Not even sure what it truly even means. It doesn't even really make sense, but we go with it because that's what it says. Leigh Wood did get his revenge and took his belt back from Mauricio Lara. February 18th of this year, the first time he got stopped in the 7th round. He found himself standing and trading and engaging against the stronger man who was the bigger puncher, and he paid the price. But when he was keeping his distance and boxing on the outside in that fight, he was having success controlling the distance, and some may say winning the fight. So in the rematch, it was going to be interesting to see the adjustments. What would he do differently? Where would he be mentally, especially after you got stopped the way how you got stopped, man? Those punches, it has a way of carrying with you. Now, in the rematch 3 months later in May, it was a different story. Mauricio Lara, if I remember correctly, was a few pounds over the weight limit. And throughout that fight, Lara looked very, lethargic. He looked very tired, very early, very lackadaisical in a way in the fight. Now, Lara kind of, to me, always looks a little bit tired, but I never really paid too much attention to it because he comes on strong when he looks tired. But this time, Lara just looked sluggish, whereas Leigh Wood looked very good, man, very motivated. He was cautious, a lot more cautious, but not too cautious to the point where, you know, he didn't take risks at the right time. But mainly, he was keeping the distance, using his jab to gauge the range, angle changes, level changes with his jab, whether it was jabbing to the head, jabbing down to the body to open up different shots. He took what was given to him, and I think that was the thing. He just needed to be more disciplined, and in the second fight, he definitely was. Lara likes to warm up a little bit into the fight, but once he gets going, he's going to let the hands go, and he's going to come forward. He's not going to defense is not going to be too much of a crazy priority for Mauricio Lara because he trusts in his power that if his shots connect, it's going to hurt you a lot more than if your shot comes and connects with him. But Woods did a great job of being in range, right? And being out of range all in a split second. Wood can box, but he's also got good power as well. Wood dropped him in the second round of that fight, man, with 20 seconds left. And I remember watching that and saying, man, I hope he doesn't come out and just rushes him, because if you come out and you just rush someone who is a bigger puncher than you, you might try to overcommit to the shot, you might miss, and you get countered, and you had the momentum, and now you're on the canvas. So it was really good to see him come out and not rush into closing out the show and put himself in a bad position, probably because, you know, the bell rang, so it gave him time to calm down a little bit. But you could see that he was very cautious of the power of Mauricio Lara, and he went into each round cautious and aware of what Lara was trying to do and where he was. Now, of course, there's always moments, right, where he got clipped. Lara did clip him, and every time a Lara shot connects, man, it always makes you a little bit wary for Wood, because I think he has a good chin, but I don't think he has a great chin. And if Lara connected again cleanly in that fight, in the back of your head, you're like, man, you know, that shot could have taken him out. But it was very good adjustments by Leigh Wood. Him and his team made some very good adjustments, and they had a very good game plan, man. And it was spot on for what they needed to be. Box on the outside, calculate your shot, land combinations in spurts, and step out of range and reset your feet and make sure you're not staying in the same spot, and engage when you have to, not always when you want to. So I like what I saw of Wood. And he got his payback, got his belt back, you know, avenged his loss. Warrington is a little different type of puzzle than Lara, though. And so if he's not careful, if he overlooks Warrington, it might not play out in his favor. Now, let's talk about his opponent, Josh Warrington. 31 wins, 2 losses, 8 wins by way of knockout. So we know Warrington isn't the biggest puncher. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Warrington, but regardless of what you think about him, he's found ways to win fights. I mean, he became a champion along the way as well, too, beating guys like Kiko Martinez, Lee Selby, Carl Frampton, Mauricio Lara, he fought twice, right? So he's been in there with some good competition, strong competition. Now, when he fought Mauricio Lara, he got stopped in the first fight. And in the rematch, a head clash stopped that fight. Warrington isn't a big puncher, as I said, doesn't have the most exciting style like that either, but he's a physical guy. He's strong in his spots, strong on the inside, good chin, and tricky to fight because he's a good counter puncher, and he has these tactics that can frustrate you and make you emotional and kind of take you out of your game plan. And that's when he takes advantage of you. Now, when he fought Mauricio Lara the first time, I think he kind of looked through Lara a little bit, right? Because to that point, Lara didn't really have a crazy resume, hadn't really fought a name yet, so to speak. Now, Warrington probably knew of him, but wasn't familiar with his work, right, and his style. And fighting Lara with physical brute strength right in the pocket and trading with him. And when you're not a big puncher, that's just a fight that's not going to work in your favor. You lose more times than you will win because Lara, he's a big puncher, heavy-handed, especially in this division, and it showed. When Warrington was dropping the fourth round, man, he never quite recovered from it. And he was moving to survive and not moving to get into position to land his shots to get back into the fight, right? And he tried to fight fire with fire, and it didn't work in his favor and didn't really make any adjustments. And it was over with in the eighth round when he got stopped. Now, in the second fight, it was similar in some ways, but different in others. There was a lot more chippiness on Warrington's part, right? There's a lot of head clashes in that fight, a lot of headbutts, a lot of just different chippy things to me. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but I think what he was trying to do was he was trying to wrap up and getting close when he felt like he was losing momentum or Lara was getting in way too close, right? You could see he was trying to box a little bit more on the outside, trying to be a little better defensively, keeping his chin down and tight. But the other part too was Lara was frustrated, man. And you could see the adjustments that Warrington was making. However, I think if that fight continued, man, I think eventually Lara would have caught up with him and he would have repeated that same outcome. But there was adjustments made in that second fight. So he knows how to make adjustments. He knows exactly what to do to get control back into the ring if he is losing it. He's experienced enough to do that. In his last fight, we saw him fight Luis Alberto Lopez. He had a great year. We know what skill set that he continues to develop. The unorthodox style of Lopez gives a lot of people problems. Stylistically, it was going to be a tough fight for Lara because Lopez moves so well in the ring in his own way. Now, obviously, there are some people who, are exceptions to certain rules, like, don't have your hands down on your knees and come up with a shot. Lopez gets away with those things, and he's able to have success doing those things. He's an exception to the rule. But in that fight, man, what Warrington did do was frustrate Lopez, tying him up, grinding on that eye that was cut, tying him up and pushing that elbow in his eye, so it was opening up a little bit more, like really doing things to get under his skin to make him frustrated. And you could see that Lopez was retaliating just exactly how Warrington wanted him to do, just coming in and throwing with reckless abandon, and he will get clipped. It was one of those things where, man, if you can't keep your emotion against Josh Warrington, it's going to play out exactly like how he wants it to, because he is a lot more physical than he looks, right? I thought he did fight a good fight when he fought Lopez, because when he did get into his head, he used his physicality and made it tough. A physical and tough fight is a great Warrington fight, and that's what Warrington brings in every single fight, man. A level of toughness and grit. And the tougher and I guess the rougher and uglier that it looks, it works more in his favor. I also don't think he's the same guy that fought Lee Selby a couple years back, but he could muster up some of that same, some of that same consistency and some of that same work in this fight, because Leigh Wood has gotten better and has improved. I'm not sure Warrington has improved in certain areas, in my personal opinion. So who wins? You cannot count out Josh Warrington. His style makes it tough for anybody. It's rough, it's tricks, it's frustration fighting him, and you might take some headbutts, right? You might get cut early in the fight, but the question is, can you withstand that and not lose your cool? Can you stick to your game plan when you're frustrated? Leigh Wood got sucked into fighting Lara's fight the first time, and he paid for it. Made adjustments in the second fight and won convincingly, right? In both fights, he was outboxing Lara, but the first fight, he engaged, took a risk, and paid for it. But he was outboxing him when he was focusing on that part. So if he can stay poised and calm when Warrington tries to get under his skin, it's going to work for him. But if he gets sucked into Warrington's fight, right, and gets too emotionally suckered into maybe the call that the ref is missing and complaining a little bit and losing focus and losing discipline, man, it's going to be a lot harder for him, and Warrington will get the edge. I also think Warrington is fighting with that level of desperation because, man, you just lost your title and here you are getting another shot to fight for the title. This is your last shot. If you don't see this opportunity, you're not going to get that title shot again. So there's a little bit of that desperation type of feel to it. Sometimes that works with you. It may work against you, but I think Warrington's one of those guys that, it could work for him. And I believe that it will. It's that do or die type of mentality. But even with that, I think Leigh Wood gets it done, man. I think it goes the distance, but I think Leigh Wood gets it done by decision. I think he's going to be able to keep his cool, and I see him winning this fight more ways than Warrington winning this fight. So I have Leigh Wood winning this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you are enjoying the content, enjoying the videos, then I hope you consider becoming a member or donating to the channel. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated and does help this channel move forward. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each of you. I always see the comments, whether we agree or we don't agree. Just know when you come to the channel, it's always love. So I appreciate each of you. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.